live. If you can see us, there we go. I think we're going live now. There we go. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Crypto Marketing Insights. I hope you're having a happy Easter, happy Passover, happy holiday, happy Sunday, whatever you're having or had. I hope you had a happy holiday and are enjoying the holiday weekend. Some people have been asking, where have you been? Well, other than the holiday stuff, I've had other things going on away from the channel. It's kind of funny, more active during the bear market than during the beginning of what appears to be a little bull run. Maybe it's short term, maybe not, who knows. But it is interesting that happens at that time. And such is life. There's certainly plenty of other great content to enjoy. I hope you haven't missed anything, missed the feeling of listening to the videos that I make. But hey, if you have been missing out, well, there are other ones you could watch, I suppose. So just to remind everybody, this is not a financial advice show. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't even talk about TA and stuff like that. I talk about crypto marketing and blockchain marketing and how marketing impacts the blockchain and vice versa. And that's what I'm here to talk about today with a relatively serious issue, I believe, that I think is worthy of discussion. But before we get into that, we are going to, the discussion is about Greenmail, obviously. If you saw the thumbnail to this video, it's about the .zil domains and the question of, is it actually an unstoppable domain or is it a form of Greenmail? But like I said, before we get into that particular discussion, just a quick roundup of what marketing is looking at. Well, the actual market is sitting at 177 billion, right? And 52.7% Bitcoin dominance on CoinMarketCap. But of course, we know all those numbers are grossly not incorrect, so take them for what you will. However, if you look at the price of Bitcoin, it is currently sitting above the 5280 price zone at 5287. And I remember just a few weeks ago people saying, well, if it crosses over 5250, I'm full on bullish. Well, here it is over 5287. And some of those people are indeed full on bullish or more bullish than before. Others are still reserved, and some are saying prices are going to fall. I'm saying prices are going to continue moving, and as long as marketers are doing their jobs, we will continue seeing more cryptocurrencies in the news, on the markets, etc. And we will continue to see a growing interest in what is a growing field. 5 or 10 years from now will be a standard, in my opinion. And I believe that we are going to be using cryptocurrencies as our day-to-day currencies, and I do believe that that's going to happen really within the next 5 to 10 years, and within 20 years it will be as normal as the internet is today to people. That is to say, very normal, very not something they don't understand in terms of how they use it day to day, at least, people, average people, right? You might not be a web developer, but you know how to send an email, or you know how to look up, go to a web page. Things you might not have known 20 years ago, you are now more than comfortable doing, right? Maybe you chat on an app on your phone, or you follow stocks on an app on your phone or on your laptop. Maybe you have an email list, right? Maybe you have a blog. Maybe you do something on the web that 20 years ago you certainly might not have done, right? And even if you were on the web 20, 25 years ago, as I was, you would not be doing the same things you are now, right? It was a very different experience back then. Even if we were working in the same fields, the fields themselves have changed in many ways. And we're seeing that evolution happen in crypto and blockchain as well. Right? It is inevitable we will see evolution in not just the marketing, the applications, the adoption, the usage, the governance, the regulation, policies, laws, politics, etc. Those things will all come and affect crypto in different ways across different parts of the world. So, the question as a marketer is, well, what are we seeing these days that is in any way reflective of what we might have seen in the past that we can learn from? If you look at chart analysts, they'll always look at past charts and tell you it's not indicative of the future, yet they're doing all this TA to tell you what happened in the past in order to forecast what may happen in the future. So while it's not indicative of the future, it gives you an idea of things that are possible, right? Well, so it is indicative, except that people don't like to say that for various reasons. So officially, financial projectors always tell you it's not indicative. Fortunately, in marketing, hey, I can tell you it's indicative. You know why? Because the data shows that it is. And what we see very clearly is that we now have a situation where we have blockchain companies like Ziliqa offering a website called Unstoppable Domains, and on that website you can register to buy a domain. So for example, if you wanted to buy, I don't know, smirnoffvodka.zil, let's see if Smirnoff Vodka is available. You could register Smirnoff Vodka and register it for $10, and in theory it is yours forever and ever, and your contents on that domain are on the blockchain forever and ever, and they're yours, and they're immutable, and they're safe, and they're there forever and ever. Except that's not true, because you have to pay a renewal fee for the domain, just like you do for any .com or any other top-level domain on the web or the internet. And while the people who run Unstoppable Domains in the Ziliqa Telegram channel are extremely transparent and forthright about the renewal fee, and they say it's not on chain and it's essentially not connected to the domain. The purchase fee is just a purchase fee, and it's separate from the actual existence of the domain, and they don't control anything on the domain, except if you don't renew your domain, the domain gets shut down, and therefore you lose, obviously, everything that was on the domain, and it goes back into the market, available to whomever wants it, right? Well, that means a bunch of things. First of all, it means that it's not an unstoppable domain, because if you don't pay your renewal fee, it stops. Which, again, I have no problem with that, but don't call something unstoppable if it is in fact stoppable. Also, it is a domain on, well, essentially it's on the blockchain, but it is on the internet, right? It is not on the traditional DNS system, in theory. It is blockchained. However, again, your .zil domain is not permanent unless you pay for it ad infinitum every year, right? So after you pass away, unless your inheritors maintain it and keep paying on it, they will need to do that or else lose whatever you've acquired over your lifetime, or find some other solution, can move everything off that domain, etc., etc. So the point is, this is a form of false advertising. Again, I have no problem with if they just said, this is a blockchain domain, you can buy this, and as long as you renew it, it's yours. But to call it unstoppable is wrong, because unstoppable is a very clear word. It means it cannot be stopped. When you make a blockchain account, right, a Bitcoin password, a wallet, Ethereum wallet, a Litecoin wallet, heck, even an XRP wallet or any other wallet, a Cardano wallet, whatever, you don't have to pay to make those wallets. And even if you ever had to pay for a particular wallet that you wanted for some reason, you don't have to pay for the address, nor do you ever have to pay to renew it in order to maintain it, right? Not from any legit cryptocurrency. So for the service that Unstoppable Domain provides, which is essentially a vanity blockchain address that forwards any payments received at that address to your particular crypto wallet address for whatever particular coin you want to receive it at. Um, and you can obviously send out through it to wherever, but it's basically a vanity address. And these vanity addresses are basically virtual aliases. And if you know anything about domain name systems, and if you know anything about administering IT systems and networks, you know that virtual aliases are virtually infinite. And they cost virtually nothing to create or to manage. On the big scheme of things, they are a drop in the bucket. And you know that if you really wanted to, you could just as easily set up, especially if you have the means of any decent sized company behind you, for some 5-figure fee, you could buy a top level domain, dot whatever you want, and you could literally offer free vanity addresses to people. And in fact, if people really wanted to, they could even set up their own vanity addresses on their own .com using an alias or whatever. Um, you, there's no difference, right? Google can shut down unstoppabledomains.com, or not Google, but well, maybe Google can block a lot of traffic to them. Um, you know, websites can be shut down, right? .coms can be shut down. Whatevers can be shut down because ultimately ISPs are beholden to governments, and certain governments have authorities to shut down websites, right? We've seen that happen many times. So to call the domain unstoppable is wrong again for other reasons. So first of all, the provider itself is stoppable, right? If their service is shut down and you can't renew your .zil domain because Ziliqa is shut down because the government decides they don't want that service to exist anymore, well then guess what? .zil won't exist and your .zil unstoppable domain will in fact stop, right? Um, Again, I understand the smart contract. I understand that what you put on the blockchain is there permanently. I get that, right? But the domain, the vanity element of the domain, which is being marketed as unstoppable, is in fact not. And why do I mention this? Why is it such a big deal? Well, this is not new to me, okay? This is not new to me at all, right? Here is an organization called ICANN. You might have heard of it if you've ever bought a domain. You probably have seen the name, at the very least, read over the checkbox that says I agree to pay the extra few cents or whatever to have, to the ICANN fee. And what ICANN is the internet's coalition of assigned names and numbers, okay? And they're basically a group created by a bunch of lobbies and influencers in the internet during the days of the mid 90s. And back in those days, I was working in a Washington, D.C. lobby. And that Washington, D.C. lobby was very much involved in this issue before ICANN existed. And we made a lot of representations that needed to be aired, and we presented things to the federal government, to the Congress, to the White House, etc. Here's an example Cambridge University Press somebody published a book that covers the whole topic, and in it they cover ICANN, they cover the group I worked for, the person I worked with, who's in here a lot as well, and his testimony before Congress, and other things we presented before Congress. We did the first ever presentation of e-commerce and web commerce before Congress in the United States Senate, at the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, I believe it was, and the Judiciary Finance. Anyway, and back in those days, we were looking at a lot of things like internet domain name governance. And what exactly is that? Well, have you ever thought about who it is that manages .com, .edu, .org, .net, right? And all the other dots that have come along since then, .biz, .info, .whatever you want, right? Well, before there was .biz, .info, .whatever you want, there was pretty much .com, .edu, .org, .net, .gov, and a few other things, right? .country level, like .co.uk or .co.il or .de or .fr or .whatever, right? But there weren't too many other vanity top-level domains, and pretty much they were restricted to that because it was figured out that there was enough domain names to satisfy the market for at least 10, 20, 30 years into the future, possibly longer, right? And that time would be enough to solve the problem by then. But the problem was that people who wanted to open up the market immediately were effectively doing so in such a way that whether or not they were in fact plotting to Greenmail, they were in fact creating a system which would allow it, whether it was their intention or not, right? They were creating a system where companies would basically be forced to buy, 100 different domain names, if not hundreds or even thousands of different domain names, just to protect their corporate brands. And that is effectively kind of what happened, right? However, not every company has fallen essentially victim to that exploit, because partly the price of buying a top-level domain is expensive, and while you can buy second-level domains underneath a lot of those branded top-level domains, and you can do all kinds of other nasty things, greenmailing and this and that, the mad rush of land grabbing for domain names burst long ago, and by the time they released this feature, that market was essentially already dead, so people weren't excited to be able to sell .whatever as much as they would have been had that happened 10 years before, when we, in the association I was working for, we were fighting that tooth and nail to make sure it couldn't be done by effectively a small cabal of people who regulated themselves without any oversight. And we prevented successfully that small cabal from being regulated by themselves without any oversight. And the end result was that they created ICANN, which is, or was when it was originally created, not completely without oversight and not completely a cabal. And it was much more open and democratic, and made sure that the Greenmail situation would not become a problem. At least it did until it started allowing .whatever, right? And then you could argue, well, they opened up the can of worms. However, again, because .tlds themselves, the actual top-level domains, cost a lot of money, relatively, right? We're talking the tens of thousands of dollars at the very low end, because that's before you factor in all the lawyer fees and everything else to make sure no one's going to be able to challenge you. It can be quite expensive to own the actual .tld. So if you want to buy .coke or .fedex or .apple, it's going to cost you a lot of money, right? And, assuming whichever ones are left remaining, obviously. But when they started making that available, that was a thing. And not every company has bothered to buy up their TLD, because they don't necessarily value it, as I said, because of that. But now we are at the point, okay, where some 22 years later, after this was an issue like in 96, 97, right? around 97. This was an issue then, and 98 also, but 97 was really the heart of it. And back then, when I was working at the Association for Interactive Media, like I said, we were, you know, looking at this from the long-term perspective of what impact this would have on the United States. There you go, look right there. Association for Interactive Media. That's where I used to work, in DC. And we were looking at how this would have an impact on the long-term mass adoption of the internet. What if companies had to suddenly spend millions of dollars to protect their brand names just to make sure that other people weren't squatting on them? This was the real fear, right, of a lot of companies. Who are these internet guys coming up creating virtual real estate and letting anyone else squat on them and then come to us and try to sell them to us? How dare they, right? That's kind of what they felt like. They felt like they were getting, kind of a shakedown, right? A Greenmail shakedown. Well, that's exactly what it was. And through our lobbying efforts, we did stop that because we pointed out very blatantly that this was Greenmail. And that's what it was pointed out to be. And that's why, in the end, ICANN was set up to prevent that and to make sure that other governance issues were taken care of properly. Right? But that was one of the very big motivating factors for creating that organization. And so I tell you that having seen this particular kind of thing before, from the inside of the whole whirlwind, I see and smell the exact same things out of these unstoppable domains. And I have asked the people on the Telegram group of Ziliqa, who are very friendly and, again, very forthright about what they say and what they believe. They don't mix any words about it. They're not shady or pretending to, they're not saying something that they're not saying openly, right? They're saying outright, yes, if you don't pay your renewal fee, it goes away. And yet they still call it unstoppable domains because their justification is that as long as you renew, your content are yours and your domain is yours and they can't touch it. But again, we know that's not true because if they get shut down, you get shut down. And again, it's not unstoppable because it's not in your control. If it's in your control, if you set up your own unstoppable domain, which you can if you want to know how, it's not impossible to do. You could easily set up a virtual alias, right, to post to your own blockchain or to post to any blockchain, okay, and use that as your solution. There is no reason you need to pay someone else for this privilege. And the person you pay for that privilege, again, cannot offer what they say they're offering. The only person that can actually offer an unstoppable domain to yourself is you. If you want to get right down to it. If you really want to get right down to it, the only person that can have an unstoppable crypto address is you. Set up your private keys. Set up your, keep your private keys private. Don't let anybody else have them. Keep them private. They are yours forever. They may be ugly, right? There are ways to make prettier ones. You can make your own pretty virtual vanity domain. Maybe I'll cover that in another video. But it is not the end-all and be-all solution for blockchain to have a .zil address. It is, in my opinion, a Greenmail land grab. There are people, even Ivan on Tech today, I saw him showing on Unstoppable Domains. He said, look, you could go to a brand name and buy this brand name. Now, I have very, very few people who watch my videos, so probably no one will ever see this outside of the people in my lounge, which is different. right? But the people on YouTube, practically no one will ever see this. If they do, wonderful. But when somebody like Ivan on Tech talks about it, he's got 130 something thousand followers, or maybe a couple 100,000 followers, and a couple thousand people see his videos every day. When he shows that off, and he's telling people you can squat on a brand and then sell it, right? And he's not saying he's doing it as financial advice, obviously, because no one ever does. But he's talking about it, saying, look, people can go on here and they can squat a domain and they can sell it, you can go try to sell it. He's saying you could try to sell it, right? Well, that encourages Greenmail. I'm not saying Ivan on Tech exactly is malicious at all. I don't believe that at all. I think he's amazing at covering tech content, and this is a perfect example of tech content about the blockchain. I'm just saying, when you have an audience like that, and you're showing them the potential of Greenmail, it is an act of encouraging the Greenmail passively, right? Passively, not intentionally, unintentionally. But there will be people who misinterpret that, at the very least, and go out and try to Greenmail, right? 100%. There are already many brand names that have been bought that were not bought by the companies that actually own the trademark names. So, you tell me, do you really think unstoppable domains are unstoppable if you have to pay a renewal fee? And if any major ISP could shut them down, or if any major network intersect could shut them down, or if any, if UUNet could shut it down, or if the government of the United States could shut it down by shutting down unstoppable domains, .zil domains, right? Do you think it's unstoppable? Do you think it's unstoppable that you have to pay for it? Do you think it's unstoppable that someone else controls your .zil address being up or down based on whether or not you pay a renewal fee? It doesn't matter if it's 1 penny or $1,000,000 a year. It doesn't matter. It's a renewal fee. It's a process you must do every year or two. I don't care if it's $5. I don't care if it's $1,000. That's not the point, right? It's not unstoppable, and it's not free. Your Bitcoin address is unstoppable, and it is free. Your Litecoin address is unstoppable, and it is free. Your BAT address is unstoppable, and it's free, right? Your Binance coin, for God's sake, is unstoppable, and it's free, right? And on and on and on. So ask yourself, this isn't like an email address, like an old ugly CompuServe email address. This isn't like that. This is the keys to your actual assets in cryptocurrency. Do you really care about your vanity that much that you think it is more important to pay for a slightly less secure version of the blockchain? A slightly less unstoppable version of the blockchain? A slightly less in your control version of the blockchain? Why would you give that up? Why would you pay somebody any amount of money to give up the control and the freedom that you enjoy with the blockchain as it is? Am I all for making prettier names for blockchain addresses? Yes, 100%, 1,000%. Do I think it's something that should be made into a land grabbable piece of virtual real estate? No, 0%. I do not believe that it should be done that way at all. 0% of me thinks that it should be done that way. I do not believe we should be making this situation .zil is a bad idea. And I like Ziliqa. I like the project. I think it's nice in the other things that it's doing. But this is not an area that I think is very well thought out. And again, I don't think they're malicious about it. I really don't. The people on their Telegram are extremely friendly. And the people on their Telegram are extremely open about what they're doing. And they really believe this is unstoppable and great and wonderful and far more valuable than the money you have to pay. And I completely disagree. I believe entirely that they are selling something under false pretenses, maybe unintentionally. I give them the benefit of the doubt. Like I said, I believe that they believe they're not doing it under false pretenses. To me, it is under false pretenses. And to me, it's unnecessary. And to me, it is just a money grab. And it is going to cause a stampede of people rushing to buy something that does not need to have and does not give you any particular advantage. It does not need to have any particular value, and it does not give you a particular advantage. You could just as easily make, like I said, virtual aliases for the blockchain for free. Right? Any currency could do it, and there could be unified ones that accept multiple currencies. Any wallet could do it too. And to not have that, okay, is just like now what I see is, if anything, .zil is a wake-up call to the blockchain developer community that, come on guys, hey, you need to make your wallet addresses pretty, right? You need to make a solution. Because there are solutions, by the way, right? They're not yet maybe fully implemented or whatever, but there are solutions for making virtual addresses for blockchains that are not .zil's solution. So that's my take on it. I don't want to dwell on it for too long, but I did want to emphasize that I think that we shouldn't go down this rabbit hole too far. Not because I'm against the development of the tech, I think that's wonderful, but because I'm against Greenmail. And I think this is or will be a massive Greenmail stink pit. And it's going to cause a lot of legal headaches, and it's going to cause a lot of problems, all for the purpose of making .zil some extra bucks, while offering a service that they know full well they could actually offer for free and make really unstoppable domains if they really wanted to. Or even offer them for a one-time fee, right? In which case, charge people $100 or $50 or $10 or $2, I don't know what. Charge them whatever you're going to charge them, so they, show they really want the thing for the rest of their life, and they buy it and it's theirs. Right? That seems, at least if you didn't have to pay a renewal fee, well, okay, you could own it and it's yours. And they did not counter. When I suggested that to the admins on their Telegram channel, they weren't against it, but they said you could always buy it for life or whatever, but they didn't give a particular price or anything. However, I think someone did suggest it was like $1,000 or something like that, and that's the thing. See, somebody suggested, why don't you pay $1,000 and own it for life? Well, then that's Greenmail, because if you're selling me something that really intrinsically has no value, especially when you first start selling it and you're selling them for $10 a year, now you want to sell to me for $1,000, that would be 100 years worth, or more than that, because they sell them for $5 a year. The $10 is 2 years worth. So at $5 a year, $1,000 would be, like 200, right? Years? Yeah, right. 5,000. Yeah, 200 years. So 200 years worth of registrations to buy something and essentially have it be mine. That seems like a bit of a ripoff. When you buy a phone, you don't pay 200 years worth of its value to own it forever, right? Or whatever. When you buy even a house, you don't pay 200 years worth of its value in order to own it and have it in your family for hundreds of years, right? if your house, there are houses that do last hundreds of years, obviously. So the notion of paying $1,000 for a domain name that's worth nothing, and they did it openly on their Telegram channel. I mean, you can go there and ask them. They're very friendly about it, frankly. But they want, a lot of money, right? That is a form of Greenmail. You call it whatever you want. And I just don't see people looking at it that way. People have come to accept that, oh, well, they're offering this thing and it's great. And all the YouTubers that talk about, blockchain, we're all excited about this thing and we're all saying how great it is as a mass adoption tool. Right? And well, maybe this will be the killer app like email was for the regular internet. Maybe this is the mass adoption tool that we were all waiting for crypto. But really? Really? You think now, of all the things we were missing in crypto, that's what we were missing. We got up to $800 billion market cap a year and a half ago without institutional investment and without regulation and without ETFs. We did all that without .zil domains too. But now that we're starting to see the market climb since several months already, and you still have undying bears saying that we're still in a bear market. Now, this .zil domain is going to come around and is going to just save the world and make everybody have blockchain because it's easier. Well, that's a view, I guess. Not one I share, and I don't share it based on, what I've been speaking about. I think this is really Greenmail, and to say to people, you should pay for this thing that's probably going to be irrelevant before your first year has expired. It's a bit silly, and people are buying into the hype because they're excited about the possibility of what it might be, and that's good, whatever, wonderful, be excited. But keep an eye on what it is. People tend to lose sight about what companies are doing. A lot of times because we don't want to question the motivations of other people or companies. And I get that. I don't want to question the motivations of other people or companies, especially not in business. But sometimes things stick out like a sore thumb. And this kind of does to me. This kind of says, hold on, flashing red light, do not cross. There is a truck coming on the other direction at this intersection. Wait, see what's going to happen, and then when it's safe, go on your merry way. And I believe this is one of those situations. .zil is a massively huge raging truck coming down the blockchain boulevard, and it's basically going to crush anything else that's in its way in terms of PR coverage for the story time until they have their registration and sell-off and auction day and whatever, when they basically flip the switch and turn your .zil domain on. And there's going to be a lot of hype running up until there. And whatever gets in their way is going to get pushed out of the way because we've got some, decent PR power going with this story. So they're going to get some decent coverage, as well they should. But where is the question, aside from me here asking this question by myself, where is the question of what these guys are doing? How is this not Greenmail? How is this not being looked at by regulators? The plan to effectively control how people access their blockchain cryptocurrencies and other things they put on their blockchain, right? Normally, these kind of things have oversight. I'm not saying that I want more oversight on the blockchain, okay? I really think it's done great without too much of it so far. But if you're talking about controlling the gateway to people's wallets, very much like Microsoft in the 90s was being investigated by Congress and by the Department of Justice for allegedly taking part in business practices that were monopolistic, right, and violated antitrust regulations. Basically, Microsoft was accused of sticking Internet Explorer in their operating system, and back then, that meant that they were essentially controlling your entire experience on the internet, right? They were the OS and the gateway to the web. And the average user meant, to the average user, that meant everything they saw would be effectively controlled by Microsoft. And that became a thing in Congress, and they made sure that Microsoft would not be able to do that. Right? They forced Microsoft to not bundle IE with the internet, with the Microsoft operating system, and people had to download it separately, and it was a ridiculous situation. So people had to, you bought a Microsoft computer, you had to, if you got it with a browser, it would come with like Netscape or some other browser, and then you had to go and download on your Netscape browser. If you wanted the Microsoft browser, you have to go and download the Microsoft browser. So it was a lot of ridiculous things happening. But those things happened, and they were significant. And they happened because government didn't want any one company to have control over effectively your digital passport, right? Your digital portal, your access to the internet. Well, what could be as important, if not more important, than controlling your access to the internet of democratized information? Well, what about your access to the internet of values, right? Value over internet protocol, VoIP, the new VoIP. It's not money over IP. Everyone talks about money over IP, MOIP. It's not MOIP, right? It's because crypto is more, crypto may be money, but blockchain is more than crypto. So it's values over internet protocol. That's how I see it. And if we're transferring values over internet protocols, and other protocols, by the way, should we really allow a completely unregulated company to offer such a service and claim that something is unstoppable when it clearly is not, and allow them to charge money to have people let them control a virtual gateway to their cryptocurrency wallets? Personally, I have no problem with Ziliqa doing any of that, except for the fact that they claim it's unstoppable. And it's not. For all the reasons I've listed. So, if you think I'm out in left field, or if you think I'm right, either way, I would love it if you would let me know. People in the lounge, we will continue this discussion. But if you're here on YouTube, by all means, let me know what you think. Is it Greenmail to ask for money for a .zil domain every regular period of time, every year or two? And is it false advertising to call the domain unstoppable when very clearly it is entirely stoppable? What do you guys think? I would love to know. If you're in the YouTube, feel free to message or chat if you have any questions about this or other topics related to marketing and crypto. By all means, jump in and ask your question. And yeah, I'm going to let that thought stew with you. I hope you've been following along. If you're just here for the first time, by the way, this is the Crypto Marketing Insights channel. I talk about the impact of crypto and blockchain on marketing and vice versa. And today I've been talking about unstoppable domains from Ziliqa, and whether or not they are in fact unstoppable, whether or not in fact they are a form of Greenmail, what prior evidence we have in internet history, what prior art do we have, what prior regulations, coverage from companies like CNET and others that wrote good pieces on the works, some of which I've been involved with myself many, many years ago, and is still impacting all of us today, in fact. If you look at ICANN, it's more effective than ever, in a sense, in that there are now .whatever domains you want, although that's ironically exactly what we were trying to prevent, right? But they did it in a way that, well, at least for the years when we were involved and the many years thereafter, we had effectively secured it beyond the point of the first bubble, so that by the time the .whatever domains would come around, the demand for such domains would have waned. And that's exactly what happened. And that's exactly why our regulation, our self-regulatory process worked, right? Because we got government involved and everything else, but we got them involved to the point where we informed them that we were handling this properly and showed them and made sure they were involved and participated in watching it, seeing how it happened and everything. And that ensured that the process was slow enough and gradual enough that by the time they were allowed to open up .whatever to whoever, the desire for buying domains significantly would have slowed down in terms of its speed, right? Its velocity, domains per year. And we see that that's the case. While we still see more domains being bought every year, and we still see more people, buying websites, etc., setting up new sites every year, at the same time, we see that pace has tapered off in the last couple of decades, right? And that's why it never became a huge thing when all these .whatever domains opened up. And again, that's why I say that the .zil domain is effectively doing the very same thing. And I don't see that there's much of a difference. So, all right, I think that's going to do it, folks. Thanks again for participating and watching. If you leave any comments below after you see this later, by all means, that's great. We love that. And of course, hit like and subscribe and hit the notification bell icon if you're watching any videos on this channel. So, yeah, that's going to do it, folks. Appreciate it very much, and appreciate all the feedback and all the positive vibes we're getting from everybody. It's why we do this. We do this here so that you don't have to. No, we make these videos because, well, I find crypto and marketing fascinating topics. And while I know most people are interested mostly in the price action and things like that about crypto, the fact is there's so much more about crypto to know than just the price action. There's so much more to crypto and blockchain than just the value on today's market of your favorite coin or project. And while I hope you all make out like bandits investing wisely and doing smart things with your portfolios, I hope that that is not why you're watching my videos, because that's not what I'm here for, obviously. These videos that I put out are really so that if you're a marketer in this field, you can be aware of the latest trends and the latest issues, and also be aware of the latest developments in tech that affect marketing, right? And all the different things you can do with blockchain and marketing that you may not have been able to do before, and that may increase your performance as a marketer, right? So from my point of view, this is a very exciting time to be in blockchain as a marketer, because we are literally early pioneers in a field that is growing like gangbusters, regardless of what you hear about the price or the investors or the market or this and that. This field is growing leaps and bounds, right? Just so we're clear, like during the bear market, HR departments hired something like 10 or 20 times as many blockchain developers as they did during the previous year during the hyperbolic phase of the bull run when Bitcoin went from 2 grand to 20 grand, right? Just so we're clear, right? Um, we're talking about a market that is growing despite having gone through a massive bear market, right? And it is effectively, people still consider it in a bear market, even though it seems to be that we are definitely changing direction. We may not be fully out of the bear market officially, but it definitely seems we are changing direction. We may have a bumpy road ahead. That's quite common. It may even be for another year, year and a half. Wouldn't be surprising. But eventually we will be out of this murky woods and rising again. And there'll be another bull market and bear cycle and bull market and bear cycle. And this is how it goes. Um, as a marketer, this is the time, right? The last bull run was amazing if you were already in this space. It was amazing. But it wasn't like the next one's going to be. Because the next one will have even more adoption, will have even more coverage, even more exposure, even more audience, even more competition, even more of everything. It is going to be bigger. In many ways, it's going to be better. And in many ways, it's going to be worse. Will your favorite coin be able to handle transactions per second when there's a hyperbolic few weeks or months going on? Will you see transactions going through quickly? Will you be happy that your marketing model is working while the hyperbolic bull run is happening? Right? Are you going to be positioned? Are you already positioned to take advantage of the marketing opportunities that await you? Right? Have you been spending the last year and a half, as I've been talking about, saying this is the time to make your land grab, do something, build something, be prepared? The lights are switching on, right? Yes, we've gone up significantly since the lows of November, December. Whoever tells you we're in a bear market ignores the fact that the price of Bitcoin has basically doubled since then, almost. We've gone up 80% or something crazy from 3 grand to 5 grand. It's 40, 60, what is that? 60% gain or something. Other coins like Litecoin have gone up hundreds of percent. Other coins have gone up thousands and thousands and thousands of percent. Altcoins, obviously. Um, it is not. These are not the worst days of a bear market. Even if we capitulate for a short period of time, right? As a marketer, I am running full steam ahead with my crypto projects. The people that work in my agency and work on crypto projects are full speed ahead, busy, while I work on other projects and that stuff too. But yeah, um, yeah, our agency is very busy with crypto projects. We are not short on that, right? There is a lot of action happening in the marketing business if you're into marketing crypto projects right now. So don't let the price action mislead you into thinking that the crypto winter is over forever. It is happening forever, and that we're not going to see the end of it for a long time. That's not true. There are plans running currently. There are plans in the immediate and short and mid-term future. There's all kinds of marketing activity happening, right, from all kinds of different companies in the blockchain space, right? Not just banks, not just massive financial institutions, but also small startups and enterprises and mid-sized companies, and all across the sphere. You're seeing companies slowly but surely pulling out more and more crypto in their marketing. When I say pulling out, I mean increasing the amount of crypto that they're using in their marketing, whipping it out of their arsenal and starting to use it more. You're seeing things like basic attention token, right? Who, if you're a publisher, you probably heard of it. If you're an online publisher, you probably heard of the BAT token and the Brave browser, and that You can earn BAT tokens if you're a content producer. I know I signed up to it, but there were some, I don't know, weird issues, and then all of a sudden Brave just started crashing all over the place. So for now, I don't use Brave, but I do have a BAT address, and if you like, you can certainly explore more about that in my description or whatever below. But more importantly, I think that the future of marketing for blockchain and crypto is very bright. Right? We are at a point of pioneering and early adoption. Now we're not at a point of we're not at the point of pioneering crypto in the sense of there's already thousands of cryptos out there, but not thousands of cryptos have been well marketed. Right? Thousands of cryptos have been marketed, but they haven't been marketed well. And of the handful that have been fairly well marketed, even most of those have come and gone, right? It is a hyperactive market. One must remember, after this bear market is officially over, and we're already seeing some of it happening, expect to see some cryptos go the way of the dinosaur. But a lot of people are talking about how we're going to see, I remember in the beginning of the most recent bear market that started in December of 17 or January 18, depending on how you look at it. That bear market, once it started happening, everyone was saying, especially analysts like Tone Vays, who still says it, like all the other altcoins, all the altcoins have to go away, otherwise Bitcoin can never grow again. Which is again part of the whole maximalism issue. I'm not going to get into the whole thing in deep, but people were basically saying that we are going to see a massive extinction. And even I said we are going to see a bunch of coins go away, and we have seen a bunch of coins go away. But it is not going to be a mass extinction the way that it might have been a year or two before, if they've made it to this point. If a coin has made it to this point, and in the next bull run, we see continued excitement spread across the ecosystem of altcoins in the kind of way that it's currently spread across, then I don't expect to see the 2,000 coins drop to 50 coins anytime soon. Think about it. If these coins have at least tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions or more of a market cap, again, market cap is not really very indicative, but let's just say companies have tens of millions or hundreds of millions in the bank, they can certainly sustain a marketing effort that will continue to keep their coin alive ad infinitum. There is no reason that companies running even bad projects necessarily need to shut them down. And I'm not saying they should keep them alive if they're bad projects, but the fact is they can if they want to, right? Even BitConnect still trades, right? It's kind of a joke these days, but people still trade BitConnect, right? Like, what? It's a thing that everyone knows was a scam. It was set up as a scam, it was run as a scam, it was busted as a scam. Why would you put any amount of money into that ever? But people still do. And it's kind of ridiculous, but people are kind of ridiculous. Right? Not everyone, but a lot of people are. That's just a fact, So, yeah, as a marketer, I'm very excited about the blockchain. I think we have an amazing future ahead of us. I think we're all very well positioned. If you're doing any kind of marketing in the blockchain and I don't know what you're doing, please let me know. I definitely want to hear what you're doing with blockchain and marketing and how you're doing things differently. Drop a note or something, drop a comment. I absolutely want to hear what you have to say about that. And I hope you join us again for another episode next time on Crypto Marketing Insights. And until next time, take care.